Hey everyone, it's Brian, your friendly neighborhood game master, and before we get into this awesome reunion episode, we wanted to make a quick announcement. And before we can make that announcement, I first have to tell you who we are. We are Brian Flaherty,
Elliot Davis,
Shenuque Tissera,
and Abby Hepworth. And
oh yeah, sorry.
It's my line, Brian.
Oh my God, Brian.
I forgot.
Damn it, Brian.
This is all staying in.
And we are finally Abby Hepworth. And we are Many-Sided Media, a brand new multimedia TTRPG company that is producing the podcast you're listening to right now, as well as many more projects coming up in the next few months, years, decades.
Oh boy. And we'll be telling you more about this company and our future projects so soon. But for now, we wanted to invite you to join the Many-Sided Media Discord server. It's free to join and not yucky at all. It's a community where you'll be able to chat with us, discuss past and present seasons, and help us pick which games we'll be playing next. Click on the link in the show notes and dive on in.
Click that link.
click it.
Do it.
It's free.
Do it.
Free.
Splash.
Thanks, everyone. Splash.
Splash.
Spoilers. No, we can't say splash yet. Thanks to everyone for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the Discord.
And remember, if you're having fun, you're already doing it right. Enjoy the episode, everybody.
Bye-bye.
But
Splash.
Splash. Hello, and welcome to my first dungeon and to the final episode of our Die series. As ever, I am Brian Flaherty, and I am joined by my co-producer and co-host for this episode, Elliot Davis.
Hello.
Hello. It's good to hear your voice a little bit more on this show.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad to be here.
It's going to be great. And there are a few other voices that are going to be joining us as well that you may recognize. We've got Enoch, our Dictator, Drakoniques.
Hi, it's me, your Dictator.
Hey!
Wait, that's really weird.
We're keeping it in. We've got Anna, the Fool, played by Carolyn Page.
Hi, everybody. I missed you so much.
We missed you too. We've got Kelly, our Emotion Knight, played by Abby Hepworth.
Hello.
We've got Jayamal, our Neo, played by Shenuque Tissera.
Hey, I'm back.
You really, I got to go back and just do a compilation of you going, hey, every opening. We've got Ned, our Godbinder, played by Nathan Yaffe.
Wow.
Wowie!
Yeah.
And last, but certainly not least, the creator of Die the RPG and Die the Comic, Kieron Gillen.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. I just did it like
Yay.
that's entirely useless in a podcast, but still.
Well, it's great to have everybody back. It's great to have this full family reunion going on here.
Yeah.
First thing I just want to throw out, what'd you guys think of the final show?
I'm sad that it's ended.
Yeah. It was so much fun. And I was like, I recognize that we have to wrap this up. But I was like, I don't. On a personal level, I was like, I want to stay in the world. As Kelly, I was like, no, we have to go home now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was so in love with these characters. I was fully ready to do just like a slice of life TTRPG, which I don't know if anyone wants, but just like us going around our lives. Like, what's up with Enoch's kids this week? Like,
Right.
You know?
It just becomes like Wander Home or Yuzeva's Bed and Breakfast. It's just the same characters, but just back in the real world.
Just at the Beanstalk, checking in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Kieron, this was our first time playing your game. What'd you think of the game?
Utterly delightful. I mean, awful if I just came on here and said, oh, it's terrible. No, honestly,
That's not what I had in mind at all for this game.
Just one
You're
time, I
fine.
kind of want someone to come in that hot. Like, I don't know, it'd be for good content. I wouldn't be happy, but it would be
You
good
played it
content.
wrong.
the Joy of Dice is a game which is explicitly asking the group questions, how are you going to play this? So every time I see a group play, it's like, oh, this is how you're doing it. And it's all about the social contract that people make between them and how they're going to do it. So it's delightful to see. And specifically, the characters are great. The world you created are great. So many like small details you want to fall in love with. Applause. I feel bad they've had to listen to the podcast slightly quicker to get through the episodes, because I've been like the sound design. I've been messing up the sound design. And it's beautiful there. So much good stuff. And like so much like stuff which isn't in the game, quirky stuff, which, absolutely landed. You know what I mean? So that's really interesting to hear as well. Yeah. So well done, you lot.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to be riding high off that compliment for the rest of my life.
Drac, I feel like of the people here, you were the one who was kind of like the most removed from because like me, Shenuque, Abby, Nathan all knew each other pretty well. Carolyn, that was introduced through Nathan. I got introduced kind of through Kieron, and I reached out and asked you to play in the game. And I remember when Shenuque made the call that the village was filled with children, and I think it was like the perfect moment of like you realizing what this group was going to be.
Yeah,
which was very fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I played with like people I would just met multiple times, and there's always like the point of like, okay, what kind of group is this, and where can I like fit in? And it was definitely that moment where like Shenuque was like, yeah, these are kids, but like immortal kids. So I was like, okay, I get it now. Okay, cool. This is my kind of group. Here's
the vibe. Here's the vibe.
I mean, that just speaks to like the strength of this system that I think at the beginning, the character creation and the world building is so incredibly collaborative that it's a game that you really can play with strangers. And I mean, yes, always have the talk about the X card and consent, of course, but this just really builds. You should sell this to like corporate retreats. Like it's really a team building exercise,
That's your dream, right, Kieron? Corporate retreat.
That's my RPG interest is about trying to get in the back door at corporate. That's all I care about. I've been found out.
Hey, there's many paths to the mountain's peak, man.
There's a great quote by Alex Roberts, who designed the amazing game for the Queen. And it's in the back of one of the die trades, and she just talks about the idea that society tends to treat as the idea that creativity is this thing that other people do. And RPGs, like, you get around the table with your friends for an evening, you can make entire worlds from nothing. And that's kind of something I really took to heart. There's a fundamental like punk rock democratic aspect to RPGs. And, absolutely. And, that's kind of what it does. And you can do this. Yeah.
I really love thinking of TTRPGs as punk rock. That makes it feel even better.
You're forming a band. Literally, every RPG group, you form a band. And you work out how you're going to play together.
Wow. What a beautiful analogy. I love that.
So what I think I want to do to start us off is I've got some like character specific questions. So I'm going to go around to kind of each of you, and we'll kind of talk about each of the characters in this game, because I think everyone had these like rich, vibrant personas and paragons. And so anyone who wants to, like, as I kind of start this off, feel free to jump in and pepper anyone we're talking to with questions, and we'll dive back into these characters. So I figured let's just start in dice order. D4 is our Dictator, Enoch / Ingrid Delmont. The thing that I really loved about you, Drac, is that for the first 3 3/4 episodes, I tried to get you to use the voice so often. Every time you said something, I'd be like, "Are you saying this or are you saying this?"
It.
Wink, wink, hint, hint, hey. And you held out. And the whole time I'm just like, "No, let's like use the stuff." And boy, I've never been more wrong in my entire life. I've never been more wrong in my entire life. Because holding off the voice for that like maximum impact of using it against your brother was like one of my favorite parts of the whole series. I don't have a question. That was just like a long time to say I loved that bit. Was that what you were thinking of, like from the start? You're like, I'm gonna hold on to this card until it's like most impactful.
Yeah, because I made Enoch and an Ingrid as like Enoch's, I guess, honestly, power fantasy. And I think it being so real, and I think honestly, if he hadn't been hit in that first combat and felt that the very real pain, he probably would have used the voice way earlier. Because he would have still been in the mindset of like, this is just a game. Like, this is really weird and kind of creepy and like odd. I don't understand how it's working. But as far as I'm concerned, this is just like a fun space for us to play in. But feeling that the actual, very physical pain was like, oh, this is way more real than I'd originally anticipated. So him feeling this power that even back then he didn't know what he was holding back. He just knew there was something going on there. He was way more reluctant to indulge in that power fantasy because like that whole point of power fantasy is that you don't have to reap the repercussions or consequences of it. But he's like, I will reap these consequences if I use this. So I definitely held back because I think that's what Enoch himself would have done. And just story-wise, it makes it hit even harder when he eventually does use it. I definitely didn't think it would be against his brother.
Yeah, Brian, what the hell?
Yeah, I didn't know that was going to happen. But in that moment, it felt like the right moment to use it. And the immediate, and I think what was even better was the immediate consequences of that, or at least the realization that his brother did, even in this world, did love him, made it so that the past times he held it back was validated, because it's against like, these are real people. And two, the first time he actually uses it and lets go of this, I guess, responsibility, this understanding of like knowing this is wrong, the moment he lets go of it, he uses on the one person in this world that knows him best, that he knows best, and actually supported him. So immediately it's like, I regret doing that.
And what I also love about it is that, like, from a mechanical sense, you went all the way to like 7 on your dice, which, if I remember correctly, Kieron, it's like otherworldly, ungodly levels will likely result in death. It's like the description is, this is as bad as it can get. So it wasn't like you went from 0 to 60. You went from 0 to 100 and goddamn 80.
It was such a terrifying moment. It like impacted generations of lore in that world, right? Is what happened.
Yeah, when we see like the flicker of green and like flames or anything like that.
I remember in that moment, Brian, I thought you were gonna kill him. Like I thought you were gonna like let Drac do that and then just be like, and your brother dies. Like I thought you were gonna like I was very scared in that moment, like off camera, like, oh no, he's gonna kill him. He's gonna let him go to 7 and kill his brother. But I love what you chose to do even better, because it still had that feeling of consequent without being a murder.
I think that's what happened was kind of worse than dying. Like, there's a lot of things in this world and this messed up world of Die that are worse than death, and that's definitely one of them. I loved how it, like, the echoing forward through time is so cool. Yeah. I just like that choice.
So for me, I always imagine it as like you scared him so much he became fictional. You know? That's kind of the vibe. Especially the more you talked about it, it's like, oh no, he's not even a person anymore. He's a story. And that's kind of that's petrifying.
I knew that just because I knew the intention from Enoch or Ingrid in that moment wasn't to kill his brother. I was like, it would feel so bad to like kill this guy. But I was also like, I had the sheet pulled up in front of me because I was like making sure I had all the rules right and stuff. And I was looking at 7, and it's not even like 7, and then there's an 8 past it. 7 plus is the top of the scale. So, and I was just reading all the things there, and I was like, I gotta fuck this guy up. And you teed me up so well for it, which was great.
The other thing with the voice, and Drac, I'm curious if this influenced sort of your thoughts out of character as a player, is like, we talk about the voice in the safety conversation of this game, which I think is such a smart choice, Kieron, to include in the safety conversation. And I'm wondering, as the player who was taking on the Dictator, did you feel that added responsibility of like, this is a mechanic that like brings with it a safety conversation, and did that inform it?
Yeah. No, yeah. I've played many TTRPGs, and I've had many games where the GM took control of my character from me without permission. Or at least without giving me a heads up. Usually I'm okay with it, but like without a heads up or in that moment, never talking to me about it. And it doesn't feel great. So I just like in that entire time, I wanted to make sure I wasn't the cause of that kind of uncomfortableness to anyone else. So like I think the one thing I would have never have done is I think everyone gave me permission to use on their characters if I gave them heads up first. But honestly, even then I would have gone with every other option first before going with that. I think the only time I did use it was when we leveled up and I picked up God, what was it? Because Abby, your emotion I had.
Yeah, we did like a little bit of a team situation. Yeah, because we like worked. Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah. So I never used to remove control of another player, but I thought it was definitely very cool to be like, oh wait, we're using the same like emotion wheel. I could boost you. So like that's the only aspect I wanted to use it in. But yeah, no, I definitely had that at the back of my mind the entire time, because honestly, the worst thing you can do is take someone's control of their character without permission. And like even if you're like, hey, I'm not cool with that, and we like retcon it, at least for me, there's still like the weird feeling of like they tried to do it. I don't feel as comfortable playing with them.
There.
Yeah, it's still like out there.
No, I think you played it really well, and it was really fun. And then I think that moment of you using the voice was one of my favorites of the series. It was just this like epic moment, and also like for me, I also got to like add on to it, so I was just like, oh, this is so cool.
It was so good,
and I loved sound designing it. Like, it was a lot of fun. But I think every cast member in this show like fucked me up at least once, and the time that you fucked me up was actually, I think it's in the last episode when you called in a favor from fate that I was like not ready for. Like I know you had taken an advancement in the Dictator, and you could like call in a favor, and when you said that, I would like sat back and I was like, shit. Which is always a lovely feeling. But it is a terrifying one when you have a microphone directly in front of your face. But I really loved that move.
Yeah, I had like a whole backstory for what dictators were in this world. I literally have it up on my screen right now. The vibe of it was that things that people we call dictators now were like the creations of demons and devils to counteract and fight gods, because there was some war between the devils and the gods. But before they could finish it, the gods kind of like busted their HQ and like messed shit up before they could finish their creations of Deicides. So Deicides aren't like as gods breaking as they were meant to be. They're just still like, so it still gave like story reason why I wasn't just killing gods left, right, and center. It's just because I was as an incomplete creation. So it like I kind of hinted at that with every time I could see fate, whereas no one else could. And then when I saw that progression in the Dictator, I was like, I have to take this one. Call in a favor. I need to do that. And that moment was perfect. Just absolutely perfect for it.
It was great. It fucked me up.
Also, huge props for building a whole backstory for that. That's awesome, and like
I know,
such
that's
a cool,
incredible.
cool player move, and absolute props.
I think let's move over to the D6 now with our Fool, Anna and Viper and Carolyn Page.
Let's do it.
Carolyn, you were the first person to fuck me up because in the first episode, I have Dani like in the basement giving his kind of like, hey, I'm glad you guys came back. And you immediately called him out. You immediately called him out on his shit. And I actually think that was like the first time the game not like went off the rails, but like went off of where I was thinking it was going. And I think that you called him out immediately, that everyone else kind of also called him on his shit, that led to let's squash it in the game. And that fully like changed the character trajectory of Dani for the rest of the game.
Whoa.
I think I was ready for that to kind of like the thing we would build to is the confrontation with Dani. Instead, it comes out right away.
Well, you're welcome. I'm sorry.
No. It was perfect. It was perfect. But it was one of those moments that like kind of knocked me back a bit, and I had to like fight forward again. What was it about like Viper and Dani's relationship that between Anna and Dani's relationship that you knew that was like the move you had to make right away?
I think that it was her in the character backstory building we'd done. Things had not worked out for Anna the way that she wanted, and they kind of had worked out pretty good for Dani. And like she felt Also, I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, Let Them All Talk, but it's kind of that same, it's a Meryl Streep movie about like middle-aged people on a boat and like their old friends. And it's about someone taking someone else's story and using it, but only the writer is the only one who can really tell the story, even if it's someone else's story, in their own way. And so Anna kind of grappling with that, like kind of going back to what Drax said, like having someone else take your control of yourself and tell your story is an uncomfortable feeling. And I think that Anna felt like that in regards to Dani.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The other thing that I love that you did in this game, I think this is something that's specific to the Fool. I think, Nathan, you did this a little bit as well, but the Fool, I gave you a couple opportunities to like, oh, you could add a circle to your dice, or if you want to, you could add a cross instead. And every time without fail, you're like, oh, I'll add an extra cross to my dice. And I feel like I've said this a couple times, but it's like a sign of a good table and good players when the players choose to eat their broccoli instead of playing with their shiny toy. Like, they know the shiny toy will be better. I'm mixing metaphors. They know the dessert will taste better.
Don't eat your toys. Do not eat your shiny toys.
It won't taste good.
Listening to that bit gave me an idea. Sorry to jump in.
No,
go
for it.
Literally, that was one of the specific bits. I wish I'd had I hacked this into the game, because I mean, what I would have done is to, like, draw a special symbol for that, rather than okay, this is a specific narrative beat. This will come back. You know, so you've drawn so like that whenever that turns up, whatever caused that symbol would actually then come back into the game.
Oh,
and that'd be,
cool.
you know what I mean? So
That
it's not
would
necessarily
be
good or bad.
so
It's its own
cool.
special thing. You know what I mean? Like that's like there's been, you know what I mean? Listen to stuff, you go, oh, this is great. Then you can do that. But yeah. So I love, you know, I'll do a cross. It's beautiful. Anyway.
Cool. I really like that. I really like that idea. I think it was also, again, speaks to like this system isn't meant to be, you could absolutely play this for, 20 years, but I think just knowing that it's contained and you kind of have something that you're working towards makes you want to make those bold choices, like make the strong choice, make the dangerous choice, because their time is limited. Just like in real life, guys.
We're getting real deep today.
We're getting real.
Hidden facts.
Actually, kind of on that note, we've got a bunch of audience questions from the Die Discord and from our Twitter. So we've got a question from the Die Discord server from Godbinder.
I don't know either.
Godbinder. But had this been a longer campaign, either a like significantly longer campaign or even just a little bit, like we only actually played 4 episodes that turned into 6. Is there anything different you would have done with your character or with her arc had you known you had a little bit more time on your hands?
Honestly, the one thing, like, I wish that I had thought less as the Fool. It's really hard to not think about character moves and what you're doing and be spontaneous in that way. And so I wish I had kind of gone crazier with Viper. Anybody else?
I wish, or if we'd had more time, I would have loved to explore a little bit more of the sort of like pairing and teaming of Drac and myself and how we could play with that relationship and those skills and all of that. That would have been very cool to continue exploring if we'd had a little more time.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think funny enough, probably would have held back on using the voice for a bit longer.
Hell yeah.
We had more time, if it was a longer campaign. The using on my brother was honestly, like, story-wise, incredible. I think it was a really good point to use it at. But
it was perfect, yeah.
Yeah. I think it would have been, if we had longer, I would have had more chance to explore the reluctance of using it after that, I think, actually. Because after that, would have definitely been like, I was right to have not used it before. Why did I slip up this time? I would have been way more reluctant afterwards.
This just reminds me, I'm a big fan of Trigun, like the 1998 animated series. And it just reminds me that like it takes 6 or 7 episodes for Vash the Stampede, the most famous outlaw in the world, the $60 billion double dollar man, to fire his gun.
Yeah.
And when it finally happens, it's like, now you know it's fucking important. This is like a real moment. And it's something I've got to take my own advice of like, just eat your veggies. The dessert will taste better if you wait.
The shiny color will taste better.
Yeah.
I feel like Carolyn as Anna, that eat your veggies concept, you also were really big on in character creation and those character creation conversations. Like you gave Anna like a consistently sad life as like all the answers to every question. And I'm curious kind of what your thought was. I think it worked super well. I think she was a great character and it gave this great arc, but what was your thought process behind that?
I just really liked, I think, reading the Die comic and like that's included in the RPG PDF that we had. Like, it's so sad. It was just so sad and so real. And juxtaposing that with this big fantasy world, like, I don't know. I just love the dramatic tension of that. Like, all of us kind of have some sad stuff in our lives, probably. And my life's not as sad as Anna, although I turned out okay for her. But I just really like a sad character because you could really feel with that. And that's real. Like people can be quite sad. Okay, now I've brought the mood down.
Sorry.
It's fitting. It's fitting. I think I want to move over to our D8, our emotion night, our trust night. Kelly with a Y, Kelly with an I, Abby Hepworth. Which is one of my favorite little bits because it really did help me as a game master be like, oh, I know where she is on the spectrum because like I know when she's Kelly with a Y and when she's Kelly with an I. It was a very like simple thing, but it was great.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah.
As a small aside, for this series, we had like a last minute dropout. Abby filled in with 30 minutes before we started the first episode. Abby jumped in. A real trooper.
Out on a run, making my way back to the apartment, knowing that I was like going to leave so that everyone could record and everything. And Brian's like, "Oh my god, I don't know what to do. Do I cancel? I was like, "It's cool. I'll play. It's fine. We'll work it out."
It was great.
I was like, "I'll just jog on back home and we'll be good."
That's something Kelly would do too, I feel like. So.
Oh, yeah. True, I didn't really think about that. It's very in character.
I do think the first moment that you got me, not necessarily like knocked me on my back, but was just like yes, was the second you named your parents' cafe the Beanstalk. I was like, thank you. Yes. Perfect. It's just something I know I can keep, grabbing onto and bringing up these like fantasy things.
Right. Who was it? Was it Nathan? Did you find there's the actual cafe called the Beanstalk in Queens? Or Brian, did you just walk
I found it. Yeah, there's an actual cafe called the Beanstalk.
I'm sure there are a bunch, but
somewhere
it's
in
just
Queens.
fun. Yeah.
And we're all going there tonight.
I'm good. Let's go.
And we're there right now.
Drac will see you in 11 hours or so.
Yeah.
Abby, I feel like the other thing you did that was such a and I don't know if this came from like only jumping in with such little preparation to think, but like I thought it was such a fun, interesting choice for the emotion night to go for trust. Like when people have seen it on the Discord and stuff, it's been something where they're like, I wouldn't have expected trust as a choice. Like, because it's like people might gravitate towards like anger or something that like feels obvious. And I'm curious why you went for trust and like how you felt about that choice.
It's funny because it's like if I will admit, if I had been part of like if I'd gotten to choose which one I was going to be, I don't think I would have picked Emotion Night, but then ended up really loving it. And it was a very interesting like challenge to think about like how this character mechanic works and like how to play it out. And it was the kind of thing of looking through the emotion wheel where I feel like anger is a one that I immediately knew kind of what that looked like or what it felt like. And also there was a little piece of me that thought that like happiness, like that's or joy, that's like horrifying. It just would have been very cool. But again, neither one of them, I knew what they looked like, but they also would have been a big effort on my part to play in a way that I thought was good. I don't think that they weren't that true to like me as a person, and especially with like such little notice of looking through. And I thought that trust was just such a interesting, complex one where I was like, I really want to see what this, like, I don't know what this looks like, and I want to explore it and think it's an interesting, weird, like, a mode. Like, it was the one as well that on the wheel, I was like, trust doesn't feel like an emotion to me. Like, I wouldn't necessarily define it as one, but then playing it, I was like, no, I get this. So it just seems like the most intriguing, where I was like, I don't know what this looks like, and I want to figure it out. It was a puzzle.
I've got another question from the Die Discord from Jilly. The question is, what are some things about your personas that you realized were different from how you initially imagined them as you played the game? From where you started to where you ended up, like what surprised you? What did you learn about Kelly with a Y and Kelly with an I as you kind of went along?
Oh gosh.
Or did you just nail it right out of the gate?
I would never say that I nailed it right out of the gate. That simply does not happen for me. But man, I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, I think again, just talking about like with the trust of like thinking about the ways in which trust and the way that you trust other people and can use trust either abusing or in like a positive way, and the way in which you kind of think about and relate to trust was just a really fascinating and fun thing to explore going through from the start of picking it and being like, I don't really understand what this is going to look like, but I guess we'll figure it out. And by the end, I was like, oh, this is cool. And that's also why, like, towards the end with thinking about all the cool things with the Dictator and the emotion night, I was like, oh, now I like feel like I get it. And I've got the mechanics and everything. And I was like, and now we can like get into the fun, kooky, crazy, like hacking the system sort of a thing.
And now we can flip a mountain.
Well, that was the other fun thing was thinking of truly creative violence. I was like, how creative and weird can we get here? What did I originally ask you to do? Was
you asked me,
gravity?
is gravity a because I think you were up to like level 5 or something because the Dictator helped you, yeah. And you said something like, is gravity a force? And I was like, well,
it is.
Sure.
It literally is. I don't know what we're doing here.
Defined as, yes. But so yeah, it was I think the things that surprised me were the ways in which just exploring like what you could do with trust was very cool. I feel like it is a thing where Kelly, in my head, as soon as we started doing the character building, I was like, oh, I know Kelly. I've got Kelly. And then it was really the emotion night part and exploring that I think developed and grew and was very cool to learn more.
I think it is also fun to have a character, because I feel like Kelly is just a little, as far as like the characters in this world, she's the one that's the most like out of place, in that like she's almost like too good for this, like she's too lovely and nice for this world, whereas everyone else kind of slides into it a little bit more.
Brian, have you forgotten about her criminal past?
She is a little klepto, but she's a klepto for good.
Well, that's I think part of why also I did want to, like, when we were talking about them as like adults and how it was that Kelly found like stability, that again tapping into that like sadness that Carolyn talked about, of like the way she found stability is in isolating herself, where she has control over her and that's all she can control, so she feels a lot more stable and doesn't necessarily like try to have relationships with other people. Because I did want to put a little bit of sadness and break that idea of like the purity or the too good. her like positivity needed a little bit of an edge.
It was also nice. Our theme song and our character themes were composed by Behold, Colin McClutchy. Big round of applause for Behold and Colin.
Good.
Amazing. But when he designed everyone's character themes, they all kind of roughly fit around the main theme. Kind of, they were all synth wave, they had guitar solos and stuff, and Kelly's I knew had to be different. It had to be acoustic, kind of chill surfer vibes. And when he delivered it, I was like, this is awesome, this is so cool. I don't know if this fits. But then when you play like chill surfer vibe music under the description of a person flipping a mountain with 2 ice axes, surprisingly it really plays.
Wait, can I also say, Brian, you having the ice axes be like my parents It was just
So
the funniest.
funny.
I loved that. So I was like, of course it would be. Like, that makes so much sense.
It was, and then I know you started as one, and then Nathan, I'm pretty sure Nathan brought up, was like, "Kate, why don't you just like make it to like split them?" And then you were like, "Oh yeah, they're magnetized and they split."
Yeah, it could be one or two that you split up. It was so cool. I loved it.
Really loved the axes.
Midnight Muscadines is a cozy, dark tabletop role-playing game where light and shadow intertwine in a fractured world. Players take on the roles of marmoteers, brave adventurers who journey into the untamed wilderness to collect the elusive Midnight Muscadines, craft magical jams, and protect the fragile light of Nim. Through collaborative storytelling and resourceful gameplay, players weave tales of courage, community, and the pursuit of balance. Will you preserve the light, uncover the truths hidden in the shadows, or reshape the balance of the world forever? Midnight Muscadines is perfect for fans of Studio Ghibli and Sea of Stars who seek to capture the magic of exploration and the heartfelt adventure in a world where small heroes make a big impact. Play Midnight Muscadines as a traditional GM'd game, GMless, or even solo. Midnight Muscadines is crowdfunding now on BackerKit. Join the campaign at pandeongames.com/muscadines.
I'm Quinns of tabletop role-playing game review show Quinn's Quest, and this is Play to Find Out. Play to Find Out is an actual play podcast that brings notorious old games from the 80s and 90s back to the table. Each season of Play to Find Out, I'm joined by Emily Johnson and Rob Morgan.
Good? Nervous?
Yeah.
You both looked at each other really concerned, like you think what's about to happen is going to be unpleasant. And frankly, I think that's rude. And together, we explore the TTRPGs of ages gone by. Our goal, to separate the TTRPGs that deserve to be remembered from those that maybe don't.
Can
I don't know, Emily. It was the 80s.
Also,
A lot of people were on cocaine. We blow the dust from decrepit systems to learn how they work. Your 100 on the encounter table bursts out. Right, you've encountered a fog. Get ready. Don't laugh.
Does one get ready for a fog?
Don't laugh. Encounter their unique quirks.
I do finger guns to cover up how I wince.
A weird thing happens as you do finger guns.
Oh no.
And I'm hoping that the Quinn's Quest community will join us in exploring these games too. If you this up, cannot describe to you how much your adventure ends here.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because the best way to learn is to play to find out. Play to Find Out is available now on the Quinn's Quest Patreon, but the first episode of each series streams for free on the Quinn's Quest YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. Anyway, you failed the Earth Tech roll, and you made jokes while I was doing my exposition, so you don't get to hear any more.
Oh, no. Come on.
I was shook.
Let's move on over to our D10, our Neo, Jayamal, Shenuque, Tissera.
Woo!
Woo!
So every game master knows that sometimes during a game you have to pause while your players are playing and like take notes on what's happening, like just for yourself. And during episode 1, I did this. I took 15 seconds to myself while everyone else was talking, and I took some notes to make sure I remembered some names. And when I looked up and my ears like caught up with my brain, I had realized that Shenuque had made the town that they were going to all children. And all of my plans in that town would not work if they had to do them with children. So Shenuque, my question to you is, why?
I'm sorry.
No. I love it.
They were first off ancient. They were ancient. They were ancient
Let's
beings.
make this very clear. They were ancient beings
just
who happen to
looked
look like children.
I realized, so I did it. I made the choice. And then in the back of my head, I was like, oh my God,
I think we said in the safety tool, like the safety tool talk, that we don't want to do violence against children or anything, obviously. And I was like, shit. So I was being like, but they're old. They're old people. They're really, really old. And
Also, not great to commit violence against old people.
Right. Not okay. Not
We're only okay with violence against the middle-aged.
You will notice the second you guys got into the Nightmare's Rest, I was like, oh yeah, look at all these children. There's these like bicycles and there's a ferry. Oh, there's also some regular people too. And those are the only people you ever interacted with.
But it's also like credit to everyone else. Like I think I made some wild swings and then everyone else just jumped on the improv and like made it so much fun. So it's like the team did a great job with that.
Jayamal being just the worst older man. So funny to see.
No, you really leaned hard into it, and I loved it so much. It worked. It was originally, I was like, what is he doing? And then I was like, I got it now. We're good.
I really dug the idea of like the more Fairgold he got, the more like the less senile he got. It was really fun.
I think that choice is fully like I was listening to you talking to Kieron and Grant during your like the talking to the creator episode. And I remember that, like, I forget who said it, but one of them said, like, what will the Neo do if he doesn't have Fairgold? And I fully let that inform my decision of like, he's going to get weird and say some shit that he should not say.
Because I wasn't right, because we didn't talk about Jayamal being like an old man in character creation or something. That came out like the moment I asked you, what does he look like?
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Wait, really?
Mm-hmm.
I fully thought you had that planned.
I fully panicked off camera when that happened. I was fully like, how do we? I don't understand, but it worked great.
What made you make that choice?
I think in initial creation of the like my initial idea of Jayamal was actually super similar to what Carolyn was making with Anna. And I was like, all right, I got to pivot. I got to go somewhere else. And then I was like, what can I do? I was like, oh my God, let's make this like traditionally like, successful, handsome man into like something that I think most young people kind of fear of, like getting older. Let's make him old and let him like confront that. And it worked out.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Really good.
Yeah. It was a great metaphor. It's like it's a guy whose career is already over. I was immediately struck by, this is an interesting way to sort of talk about this guy.
Yeah.
And then the other great thing you did for this game was introduce the cast and the world to Brett.
We love Brett.
I love Brett.
We love
What
Brett.
The best
Now we
arc
love
in the
Brett.
entire series.
That's the arc this game was really about. Was the
Yeah, this show's about Brett.
This really was just a love story
Yeah.
told through a super weird lens.
So I don't think I knew you were married to Brett until you said it. I was always picturing it as like the hanger-on, the leech, and that's why I made him, the soul-sucking vampire. He's like sucking your essence and trying to get it for himself. He's sucking your clout or something.
Yeah.
When in the story did you know you were married to Brett? Did that happen when I asked you for a secret, or was that earlier on?
I think I had like a vague idea, like, all right, Jayamal's queer and like afraid to kind of like bring that out, and I just didn't know like how to say it. I think like towards like maybe the end of the second recording, the third, I was like, oh, he's with Brett, because everyone kind of hated Brett and was like, this character sucks, and I'm like, well, why does Jayamal like him so much? Like, why like every time does he like come up? I'm like, oh, Brett, where is he? I want him. And then I was like, oh, it's because like he's secretly like queer and like doesn't want to tell everyone and wants them to accept his partner.
Oh,
I like that justification for why Brett is kind of a dick sometimes too. Is like that's really hard to live as like closeted and not be able to talk about that and like sacrifice that for your partner's career. And so I thought that was just great character justification.
Yeah, Brett is truly a hero for being closeted for so long.
reading you all of Dani's books.
I know.
That was the detail that got recontextualized by that I'm married to Brett. in such a beautiful way. Because you said that he read them to you in like the first episode, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a goofy detail. And then it becomes this so sweet detail about your marriage. Like,
I was going to say, at first it's like it kind of characterizes Jayamal as like this guy who's like, I'm too busy to do this. So I'm too big a deal. And you read it to me of like, I've got too much going on or whatever. Yeah. And then by the end, you're like, oh my God, no, this is true love.
Yeah.
I also love that. I think you can hear it in real time when everyone's opinion on Brett switched. When Shenuque was like, yeah, I'm with Brett, everyone's like, Brett is fucking awesome. We love Brett. It was gay icon. Let's go.
It was really hard to like, as Abby, be like, I fucking love Brett, and as Kelly, be like, but Kelly still thinks he's annoying. It was really hard to maintain that sort of difference.
It was an interesting moment for me, as like the bleed between Brian and Dani, because Brian designed this vampire to be this like soul-sucking, clout-chasing, guy. Dani designed an encounter that was echoing your real life. And then when it gets flipped, I'm kind of like, shit, Brian's got to change this. And also Dani's got to like recontextualize this. And it was a fun moment for me to realize like, oh, like bleed's real. It happens. It was very fun.
If Dani didn't know, that was Dani's opinion of Brett also.
Yeah.
And then, so that's why he showed up that way in the world.
Yeah. Dani thought he was an obstacle to be overcome, or like a thing that you had to figure out. He saw it as being like a bad thing that you had to defeat, not realizing there was like this whole other thing behind it, which was a very fun moment for me. Just like this weird meta thing.
Right. And to, I guess, answer Godbinder's question, I think if we had more time, I don't know if I would have taken the pawn shop thing to like do the secret trade, just because like in the Neo, the way it's like you take your levels, it's like kind of like an offshoot initially that I think most people wouldn't go to so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with more time, it would have like gone a different direction. But I also wish I had explored Jay's relationship to like Enoch more deeply, and like Kelly, and like they like kind of got teased out with Anna towards the end, and like Ned a little bit, but just like exploring the more interpersonal relationships between everyone would have been fun.
We could have just played this forever. We could have just done it forever. You guys could have stayed in the game, and we could have done all of the 20 sides of die.
I'm down.
Yeah.
I have to call out another wild choice made by you, Shenuque, which was
we need to talk about this.
everyone pretended to be Ned's grandma in high school. Was one of the most unhinged things I've ever heard.
It really broke Drak. Drak was like,
I did not know how to react to that. I was like, that feeling, because I'm really good with like people being like, make up a backstory of me and my character together. I'm like, cool, I can think of a way why my character would do this. I was like, I fully do not know what was going to be in mind. Like, yeah, this is a good idea.
Just peer pressure.
by far your wildest swing. It was the greatest play.
Another moment where I was just like, I'm going to say something and let everyone else take care of it. And you guys did a great job taking care of it.
Next time you can be the fool. We'll switch.
Yeah.
There is something to speaking first. Like, speaking first is easy. You just get to say the thing. Everyone else has to deal with it. You don't have to contextualize it. Oh my God, I love it.
The way Nathan asked, my parents told you guys first? I was like, oh my God, that's so silly. You're right.
Absolutely. I don't think I've ever been like generally speechless until that moment.
Oh man. And it was funny too, because I feel like I really thought I knew where you were going, which is what I thought you were going to say, like, oh, we all took his exams for him, like to cover for him and like do the sorts of things.
I was thinking that too.
I was like literally like I was thinking ahead, and I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, this is like a fun thing, like whatever. And then that comes out of your mouth. And yes, again, fully just like my brain stopped and was like, what? Huh? I'm sorry, we did what? Fully Little Red Riding Hood. Or Enoch, or poor Ned.
Great choices, one and all. I love
Yeah.
them. You know what? I was going to move over to Ned, but I think the last thing we got to say, Bingus.
Love it.
I actually love Bingus.
I'm just going to put this out into the world. I want someone to make fan art of Mech Bingus. And then on top of Mech Bingus is Bing Bingus curled up. And on top of Big Bingus is regular Bingus curled up. That's what I want. I want to see it.
Oh,
Someone make it. I'm putting it out into the world.
Stack of Binguses,
yeah.
all snuggling.
The
And I'll get a
Russian nesting
tattoo
doll
of it.
situation of Bingus. We love Bingus.
I love Bingus.
Moving over to the D12, the Godbinder, Ned, Cass the Seer, Nathan Yaffe.
Hi.
I think my thoughts on you as a player can be described in 3 words: detect, narrative, significance. I've gotten a lot of great asks as a game master. That is one of my favorite asks of all time, because every Godbinder gets a blast ability, they get a heal ability, and they get a detect ability, and you get to choose what the detect is. And you asked me, can I have detect, narrative, significance? And I've never said yes faster.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Godbinder, like, to me, is like the metagamer class. And so, like, it was, like, that's sort of what I am in real life. Like, I try and build, like, the most broken characters I can. And it's like, oh, this one literally is, you can just ask to make up a new rule for you if you want. So yeah, it's like, and that's part of like why I chose Fate as the god also, because like it's a dice rolling game. Like you're literally, just trying to manipulate probability to make it so that you and your companions can succeed as much as possible. And so yeah, it's like, what's a detect ability for? It's to move the story along. So it's like, okay, well, let's just cut out the middleman. And like I want to detect the thing that moves the story along so that we can get to the next bit. Yeah, thanks for letting me do that.
I hate to jump on this one. It's like the intent of the design is that you can have that. You can change that noun as often as you like, so you don't just have one detect spell.
Oh,
you can
really?
use anything to do with your god. So like, absolutely, detect narrative significance is 100% a great Fate detect spell. But like you could be tied to other stuff like detect loaded dice or something. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't be able to sense anything your gods would be able to sense. That's the intent. But trust me, that's a great spell. Narrative significance is a great use of Fate. Really.
Thank you.
That's cool.
It was another weird kind of meta moment for me as like Brian and as Dani, because when I asked you to be on the season, I think I specifically told you, I was like, oh, check out any class you'd like. I think you'll like the Godbinder, because I know you like power gaming. And in the last episode, or in the second last episode, I asked you guys what you see in the facsimile that Dani made of you. And you said that like Dani only sees Ned as like a power gamer, but not seeing that he just wants to play the game. And I was just like, oh shit, I've got to re-examine how I look at Nathan a little bit. I've just been read so hard. But it was a really cool moment, because it was like, this is what Dani's not seeing. And that bit of bleed and that bit of like that dichotomy, it was very cool to like experience in the moment.
Yeah, I mean, this game is like, it's made for, it's accessible to anyone, but it really felt like reading through the PDF, I was like, oh, this is like a love letter to people who spend all their time playing tabletop RPGs, and this is for me. And so I was just like, I'm just going to explore some real stuff about my relationship with games through this, and it was super fun and rewarding. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming. Nathan, I think you probably, actually, this is not probably, this is definitely fucked me up the hardest.
Great.
Because in the last episode, we were doing our epilogues, and we were doing where we're at, and I committed the greatest sin a game master can commit. I knew like you were the last one to go, and I was I kind of stopped listening and was like thinking ahead to how I like what are the closing lines of the episode or so. I was trying to get ahead to the ending.
Mhm.
And when you had Ned walk up to Dani's house with the dice, I think you can hear it in the audio. I just like stammer for 30 seconds. 'Cause I had no idea.
Freaking got you, man.
You got me so
Got your
bad.
ass.
That's one of the worst I've ever been gotten on this show.
So good.
You just hear me like, as Brian and Dani be like, come in, I guess. I'm just like trying to buy time while I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this?
Honestly, after we stopped recording that day, and Brian and I always kind of like afterwards talk about like, oh, highs, lows, like things, whatever. For like 30 minutes, Brian was just like, I didn't see it coming. And like, it was all he was talking about, where he was like, oh man, that was just, what a move. What a move.
I was also worried I stepped on it like a great moment because like you did this thing. And then I was just like, I just like stammering. I was like listening back. I was like, do I leave this in? Do I cut this? Like, what do I do?
It was an honest reaction. I think that's what you want. Yeah.
That's what you want.
But yeah, I mean, it was like I was going last, so I had the most time to think about what my epilogue was going to be, and I was like, yeah, let's just try this. I'm glad I did.
I love it. Like bringing those, because that immediately was like, oh, I want to do it. I want to do this. And like, that would be so interesting seeing these people who've already been there. You go back at a much later phase in your life where maybe like you don't have as much maybe to lose. And so the impetus to stay in the world could be stronger. I think that's very interesting to explore.
Yeah.
Sequel? I don't know.
Season 2. Season 2.
We do have Josh Coop from our Twitter. Yeah, so when's the next season of Die?
Yeah.
All right.
Wait, I have a related question. If we were going to play a season 2 and do the same characters, would you have them be the same persona? Or would you pick a new one?
Ooh.
Or Paragon. I'm sorry. Paragon. We'd do the same personas. Do you think that they would be the same Paragon in the world?
I think Ned would probably, yeah.
I want to switch with Shenuque. I want Jayamal to be the fool, just because I think it would be like watching, Tchaikovsky play the harpsichord or whatever. It would be a masterful stroke.
I would love it for it to end up being like Enoch comes over, but for whatever reason his kid has to come over as well, and his kid gets sucked into the game.
Yeah.
Rather than Enoch does. And I think it'd be interesting. I think it'd be very funny if it's like the new Jumanji style of where like she gets sucked in and is still in like Ingrid's body.
Oh my
so you have
God.
that very comedic moment of like Enoch and like, who's Enoch? It's Eleanor. What's going on? Where am I? It's kind of like that vibe.
I would love that. That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Trapped on vacation with your dad's friends.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I don't know. I feel like I'd play all the Paragons seem really fun. The Neo is really fun. If we wanted to switch Carolyn, that'd be whatever. Like I'm down for anything.
Brian, I got to turn it to you. We got to talk about the Master. There's one more Paragon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
you got me. I wasn't ready for this. Okay.
One thing that I think you've alluded to a lot in this conversation is the ways that things that Dani was going through bled into things that you went through. And I'm curious, like especially I'd say episode 5, Dani gets it from the rest of the group. He really they go after him. And did you start to feel that weight of like Dani's descent as the real world GM?
This is where this is a little fucked up. But there's a line in episode 5 where Dani reveals that he left a note, like he's left a note for your parents or whatever that you'll open.
I remember that.
And Anna or Kelly says like, well, what are my parents gonna think? And Dani said, I don't know. They're probably gonna feel some kind of way about it. And I swear to God, I didn't in that moment. I didn't think that was a crazy thing to say. And that's how fucked up it got for a moment. They'll probably feel some kind of way
Some
about
kind
it.
of way. I mean, true.
I feel hungry about this. My daughter's missing. Are you guys hungry?
But it was interesting because, you know, I wanted to kind of play this game as like full, like with as little prep as possible. So I came in with a very basic. I had two concepts for Dani. One was he like took your guys' stories, so kind of pulling from the Fool from the Die comics, but making it a bit more central. Or he's a famous Vegas magician who's lost his sense of wonder about magic. And that was all I came in with. And so a lot of Dani got like whatever you guys kind of started putting on Dani in little ways, I just kind of picked up as best I could and just like fed into what everyone else was giving me. But I did write out for that episode, like, all right, what is his pitch to every character? And it's like, Anna, you know, you look like this, you can do this, you can be this. For Ned, it was you can control your fate. For Jayamal, it's like no one, you know, I didn't expect you to be an old man, but no one is pushing any expectations on you. Like you're blank slate. Enoch, you have the power to be heard. You have a voice. You have the strongest voice possible. And I didn't know as a game master if anyone would take that bait. 'Cause I tried to make it as appealing to your personas as possible.
Yeah.
And I think like Ned was maybe the closest I got until Kelly asked the question like, hey, what about our parents? Or what about
And Enoch's kids?
Yeah.
Honestly, I was having a really hard time because again, like the world was so fascinating and fun that I was like, I want to keep, and I was like, I get it. But I knew as well, it was the kind of thing of like the character choice was always like Kelly was always going to go back home. But it was really hard to do it.
I knew that because that when we recorded that was the last episode, so I knew we had to wrap it up in that like 4-hour recording session, and I had still like a bunch more ideas of things like Brett was going to, you know, kind of be this villain that was going to be hitting you guys up again, but I couldn't figure out a way to make it work well. I knew that Anna's ex, I wanted to be like the, you know, the witch, playing on the idea of like you always think your ex is worse than they are and they're actually, you know, probably okay and stuff. And and it was fun to then use those as like spoilers or like teaser trailers for like, hey, if you stay, we're gonna do this as well. Like kind of the idea of we've only explored one side of the 20 sides of this isodecahedron.
We still have to go back to the Troll Council as well.
We still have to go back to the Troll Council.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, shout out Hitchtooth Franz, man.
We made a promise to go back.
And then this is a question for you, Brian, but also a question I'd love everybody's maybe thoughts on. This is a question that the game text asks when you're preparing as the master. And is it are they a victim or are they a villain? And I'm curious how people see Dani when they look at the course of this season. Is Dani a victim or a villain?
Ooh, wait. I'll answer last so I don't influence anyone to what I think Dani was.
Villain.
Really? I think
That's what I think.
Yeah. I think at the beginning he had all the showings of a villain, but by the end of it, I think both I and Enoch saw him as a victim, honestly.
I feel like the way Jayamal saw him was more of maybe like a victim that like became a villain, then became the victim again towards how the story went. But I think Jayamal just felt bad for him at the end.
Abby, what'd you think?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it was a, at the end, it felt less like Dani trying to convince us to stay and us, more like us trying to convince him that there's good stuff to go back to. And so I think probably in the end, victim.
And then Nathan, what'd you think?
Yeah, this is both. I don't know. It's a little bit of both.
It's an acceptable answer.
Yeah. He did some villainous stuff. He did some victim. I mean, he was a victim of my my awesome move at the end of the game. No idea what to do there. Yeah, you know, It's hard to just like separate those two because they inform each other. Yeah, he was a well-rounded person.
Can't be put in a box.
True.
Can't put me in that box.
I still haven't finished like the final episode. I've had to basically jump through and make sure I got the key bits. As in, did you stay or go? You know, that kind of stuff. But like from the penultimate episode, I was like, there's a bit hurt people, as everyone always says.
Yeah.
Also, there's a line in Dai's manuals. What is the biggest cry for help than dragging your friends into another dimension? You know what I mean? So that always a bit of it. But I was always just like, there's a bit where you soften the fact you bring the Dai influencing in. You soften him, and that's so much where you push him towards like, oh, he's a victim. He's not just being a selfish person here. He's also being predated upon. You know, and for me, that was definitely a bit where can you save your friend from this awful Faustian pact he's fell into? You know, so like, you know, that's kind of where it ended up. Like, well, he's at this point may change in the final episode, but that was definitely the soft character work there is really interesting.
Yeah,
I really always saw Dani as falling into like a golden age fallacy, like. The best days are behind you. You know, it's when anyone, you know, from today thinks like the 1920s were the time to live or the 1980s were the time to live.
I love cholera.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you don't feel
What
that
a time
stuff.
to be alive.
But you just remember like the highlights from this like one specific time of your life and get stuck in that. And I think he's definitely like stuck in that and kind of a victim to that type of thinking. And then becomes prey to the game, to like the D20, to the die that is like taking that and starting to like, you know, crank that up to 11 and like try to pull him into this game for good. But also he said they'll probably feel some kind of way about it. And I, as a human being, said that and didn't expect the response I got. So
It was really
probably villainous.
Because in that moment I was like, what did the note say? That we'll be gone for the foreseeable future. Like, what is it?
Like back in 15 minutes, or was it like a suicide pact note? Like, what was the context of the note, Dani?
What's worse is that like you guys asked what the note was, and he was like, "Don't worry, I'm a good writer."
What does that mean?
I know, we were all like, we don't care if it's got like proper grammar and flowery language. We want to know how you explain this.
Depending on what you say, using flowery language might make it sound more cult-like. So, like, please tell me what's going on.
Because we've left to go join a cult. Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Don't worry.
Don't worry, I'm a good writer. I forgot about that. So funny.
And then, you know, just as we finish up this like character section, shout out to Low Tonk on Twitter, who's the person who did our that bit of fan art of our paragons and our personas.
So cool.
So the first piece of fan art I've ever gotten for anything, and
Loved
it
it.
was made my day and my week and possibly a year. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Left us a note saying, no question, just a whole lot of love for all the players and the amazing story they told, and for the characters. I love them too. So thank you.
We
Thank
love you,
all.
Billy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We love
Thanks
you.
for listening.
Bingus versus Big Bingus. Who would win? Real talk. You have to make a call now.
Bingus fight.
Bingus for sure.
I'm Bingus too.
Yeah, same.
We love Big Bingus, but he would lose.
In a fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, regular Bingus is like made of metal and can like make himself a needle. Like canonically, I think he made himself a needle and a round
4 out of
sphere
5
ball.
ends, right?
Yeah.
I guess with enough fair gold, regular Bingus get souped up.
Okay.
Like Big Bingus sort of has a ceiling that regular Bingus can surpass.
Yeah.
Plus his landing gear's broken, so.
Yeah.
You guys solved that puzzle. It just won't land. Fine.
You'll just keep circling. It's fine.
That was a great sound design moment, Brian. I have to call out is that battle with Wingus and Big Bingus flying around, and during the conflict between Michael and Ingrid, you have this like muffled slow motion combat sounds happening in the background. Just chef's kiss.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I really loved everyone's like saying cool stuff, and then Drac, I have you like way in the back going, I'd love to say something cool, but I'm kind of busy now. There were two things that I wish I had been able to work in, and one was I'd wanted like something in the final bit to include the potato outside of time. Your guys' like failed classroom experiment. Never got around.
Ned bought the wrong potato. That's right.
And then I did have two questions that kind of I threw out into the world that I didn't have answers for, but I was curious if the world or if your choices would like bring up an answer for them. And one of them was turn left. I didn't know when turn left was going to happen, but I knew I always had that out if I wanted to make something more dramatic.
Yeah, I thought that was going to come up in the final battle.
I thought it was too, and then it just never quite. I never quite saw it.
Yeah,
and so then it fell at the end.
Yeah,
but the last one was the last thing I kind of left up as a possible like lore bit that you guys could have filled in was in the first episode I mentioned that there's like a bite taken out of the moon. And we talked about that a couple times, and I was just like, oh, maybe like if Drac wants to like do something insane with his voice, if Kelly wants to go insane with her creative violence, like someone, if Mech Bingus wants to go up and take a bite out of the moon, like maybe that's the thing.
It honestly felt like level 20 stuff. Like this is what we played in up from level 1 to level 20. At some point we fought some kind of god, and that's like the repercussion. That was what was left over of our like big fights the last time we played here. But yeah, no, that was a really interesting because my brain immediately went to like Galactus or like like those like Planet Eaters and DC or Marvel comics.
Uatu got hungry. Let's take a little nibble.
Maybe it's our parents feeling some kind of way about
It's Bob and Suzanne eating their feelings by eating the moon.
Oh yeah, wasn't that was another thing that either Shenuque or Nathan came up with, was that that Kelly's mom was the one that drugged Nathan with hallucinogenics?
Oh yeah,
she had a phase.
She had a phase.
She had a phase where she
spiking her
experimented
bonbons
with drugs.
I love it. I think that's about it. Kieron, did you have anything you wanted to throw in to ask the cast?
No, because it would expand infinitely in that kind of like it's one of the things you want to just pick people's brains. What about this? What about that choice?
Right.
But as I said when you sort of brought me in, seeing how people reinvent the tools as the game. Like that's in some ways like stuff like the creative violence is deliberately like, okay, what is a strength? What is a mountain really? You know what I mean? Like it's explicitly it's creative violence. You're meant to do that, and all the gifts have that kind of vibe. So like that's what would pick you over, but that's what the game is. I could just pick that by listening to it. Oh, I got one actually. This is probably the biggest thing you did, and this is an unusual thing in a game of Die. That you deliberately made the character level, the Paragon level, have a name and a bit of a different personality. Die traditionally doesn't do that at all. Like Die explicitly, you name your persona, and the game goes out its way trying to make you not think about the character as anything than your bodysuit. In the same way, Jumanji, like you are the same person, you're in a different body, and that makes it because the double level of roleplay is makes it quite tricky because people, and also do you go home or not becomes quite blurred. Or can become as in who am I playing it? Am I playing that thing? And we deliberately pushed it in that direction. Why did you end up going those sort of choices? Obviously, it was really because a lot of you are doing your idealized self versus your real self, which is a really fruitful way of looking at it. So, what sort of led you down that alleyway? I think that's my question. Not alleyway. That implies it's a dead end. That made you take that path as you turned left.
I think someone asked this same question on the Discord, also pointing out like, yeah, this isn't really in the rules. Like, why'd you guys do this? I don't actually remember how that happened. If that started with someone or if it came up organically.
Can I name my character?
I think Drac, you may have done it first, where you were like, my Paragon has a different name, and then I think we all just kind of like followed suit, and that because it also was like a in the world, you kind of got to be whoever you wanted to be. That then when you add another name, when you get to rename them as well, now all of a sudden it becomes like you're still the same person in some regards, but it becomes a whole other thing.
We can retcon this and make it canon that since we all picked up our die to go into the world, like these were just what was simmering in our subconscious. And we already had the names for these characters.
Yeah.
Like maybe we'd have been working on this character for years and we'd never gotten to play it. And then we brought it to life.
It's a really cool choice, I stress. Like, it's definitely the way of doing it. But like, I'm just interested by how the choices, and they'll build on, it's improv, yes, anding it. Anyway.
I asked that because I think I might be wrong. I don't know if I'm misremembering this, but I remember, Brian, you describing it as Dani was like, I made characters for you.
Yeah.
And when you said that, I was like, okay, cool. So it made me think of like pre-generated characters.
Right.
So I was like, okay, that's where like I imagine like all of this stuff that about like the demons and devils, like Enoch himself doesn't know about it, but it's like the flavor text you get in the pre-generated character sheet. And so he has like a history with like, I just thought it would be interesting to play characters, and I thought this is what you're going for, which is why I asked. It would be interesting to play characters who, even without us wearing said bodysuits, had a history in this world already, because then it would be really, really weird and funny to like jump into this Ingrid Delmont and then find out that Ingrid Delmont has a family and 3 kids, and I would be like, okay, I need to like figure out, separate Ingrid and Enoch and remember what Ingrid knows and try to be this person for these people. So that's kind of where my initial question came from, because then it kind of informed what if I was playing Enoch as a LARPer, or if I was playing Enoch as in somebody else's body.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Actually, one of my go-to moves is the gem in die. It's to kind of do that stuff as you arrive in the world and people know you. And there's like the last campaign around Al Ewing, the amazing comic writer. His character was kind of viewed as God. As in, he was this kind of like the god of the pirates. Like, and all, they kept some things he said, whatever he said as a character, like, oh yeah, that's the saying, isn't it? And all the other characters started saying it as a bit of wisdom, and his character, being completely independent, hated it.
That's so great.
Anyway.
That's so fun.
It was really helpful for me as a game master to kind of, it was especially true with Kelly, like Kelly with a Y, Kelly with an I, but like, to see where on the scale you were. I think especially with like between Ned and Cass, and between Anna and Viper, like where you were, because I could kind of get a gauge of, will Dani's like final words to you guys, will his like final pitch work, or like, you know, how close can he get? And it was fun to like kind of see that scale kind of tip back and forth at various points.
Yeah, that was a funny thing when everybody was talking about the names of their haircuts, and I was like racking my brain in building this character, and I was like, but like, who does she want to be? Like, she could be any name, she could do anything. And I was like, I think it's really just true to her that it's the same, but like a little bit more. More chill.
It gives me real like Tina Belcher vibes, where she's like, yeah, but look, I've got a different colored beret.
Exactly. Felt like, yes, this is the kind of thing that to her is like, this is a really crazy idea. But what if her name with an I? And then, yes, it was like if she just reached like the full height of her powers, it's like she also puts a little heart instead of a dot.
I really like to imagine that as she destroys the D20 and you guys are sucked back to the real world, you just see an outline in wisps of Kelly in cursive with an I and with a little heart over the eye. And then we like, you know, the camera pans through the eye and we go back into the real world.
Love.
I do think that this idea of the different names, and it, like, I love that you asked this, Kieron, because I don't think it was almost, and this is a credit to the way that all of you played together throughout this whole season and responded to each other's choices and leaned in, is that it was almost a subconscious rippling of like choosing to make a new name. Like you said, Drac, you kind of asked the question, then decided to do it. And then everybody played this game with every choice in like oh, yes, and I'm in, like whatever weird choice Shenuque throws out, whatever like character creation, world building choice Drac is throwing out, and I think it's just a credit to how all of you melded as players through this season. So, well done.
Well done, you all.
You really did do a good job.
Good work.
It's
been a rare pleasure, you know.
Thank you.
And that is all for this episode, and indeed for this season of My First Dungeon Die.
I'm sad all over again.
I know, me too. Thank you to our co-producer, Elliot Davis, to our composer, Behold, to Kieron for creating this game, to Rowan, Rook, and Decard for publishing this game, and to this amazing cast. Once again, we have Drakoniques.
Hi, I'm your dictator. I'm going to stick with it.
We have Carolyn Page.
Hello, I'm your fool.
We've got Abby Hepworth.
I'm your emotion knight.
We've got Shenuque Tissera. Yes, the callback. We've got Nathan Yaffe.
Wow, I'm a Godbinder.
And we've got me, Brian Flaherty, your master. Thank you to everybody for playing. Thank you to everybody for listening. It's been a great story. You can follow us on Twitter at My First Dungeon. We've got some great seasons coming up. I urge you to follow us along and see what's coming up down the pipeline. And you'll likely be seeing some of these familiar voices and faces in the very near future.
Woohoo!
And as always, remember, if you're having fun, you're already doing it right. And everybody,
It grew on me. I didn't like it.
Goddamn right it did.
And then at the end, I was
At
like,
the
yeah.
end, it grew on me, I guess. Yeah.
Gotta have a running bit.
But yeah, I love it now.
It grew on me like a barnacle, like a
I didn't choose for it to grow, but it did indeed grow. Hey all, it's Brian. Real quick before you go, if you like this show and you want to support more great seasons, you should head on over to patreon.com/myfirstdungeonpod and jump into the Dice Pool. That's the name of our one and only Patreon tier that's just $5, where you'll get additional actual plays and extended talkbacks each and every month. We'll see you there. Splash. If you're hearing this, that means you have listened to every last second of this episode, and that probably makes you a fan of this show. Well, if you're a fan and you like what we're doing and want to help others find it as well, then consider leaving us a 5-star review over on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. Getting more ratings really does help more people find the show, and reading your nice words about the things that we put out into the world makes us feel all warm and good inside, and we want more of those good feels. So head on over to your podcast player of choice and leave us a 5-star review. Thanks.